At least 60 houses destroyed by heavy downpour in the Koto Mbanga subdivision in the Mongo division littoral region of the Republic of Cameroon. The heavy rains brought untold suffering to the population. We bring to you details in this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television, in which we are going to talk also about hundreds of traders who went on a rampage around the Marché Central or the Douala Central Market, and this is as a result of what they consider as irregularities on the part of council officials in Cameroon's economic capital Douala. We also talk about Denis Sassou Nguesso's victory in Congo-Brazzaville. He is the winner of Sunday's presidential election, and that extends his more than 3-decade rule in that country to close to 44. He's going to be in power to 2035. Thanks, dear viewers, for joining us on this edition of the news on Equinoxe television. I am Babli Jonathan. We begin this newscast in the Koto Mbanga subdivision in the Mongo division of the littoral region of the Republic of Cameroon, where over 60 houses have been destroyed by rains, while the inhabitants of Koto have been visited by the divisional officer of Mbanga. The inhabitants are asking for help as a result of the heavy downpour that brought untold suffering upon them. Smanjik and Gabriel has more.
He is visually impaired and one of the victims touched by the heavy rains in Kompina. The entire roof of his house was completely destroyed, and he is perching with a neighbor. He calls for help from the government.
When I said this, we want to make governor let me. We are not the Dunanati, are not the cities. Now if this my government says then look to where the fear we don't get the kind of problem. So then he have we.
Since the heavy downpour destroyed several homes in Kompina, authorities of the Bonalea subdivision are still to comfort the families whose houses were destroyed. A councillor at the Bonalea Council promises better days for the victims.
The only thing that I have to say is to please the population of Kompina to persevere. I will do everything. I will try to inform the mayor of the Bonalea Council and our chief to see what we can do with it, and we are very sorry to everything.
A total of 40 houses were destroyed in Kompina in Bonalea subdivision of the littoral region by the heavy downpour. At Koto Nachigal in Mbanga subdivision, 20 houses were destroyed by heavy rains, leaving several families homeless.
It was a big breeze who came like that around 12 o'clock at night, and as you see, all the village have scattered, all the houses have scattered, many houses have scattered, and all the population they are outside like this.
Getting the information, the divisional officer of Mbanga descended to Koto Nachigal to encourage the families and to find a temporary solution for them.
It was an occasion for us to recomfort them and assure them on the support of the government. It was also an occasion for us, in collaboration with municipal authorities and other living forces, to take conservative measures such as providing necessary rooms in schools and in hospitals that can host the families that are completely out of their homes because of this unfortunate situation. We also evaluate, also took time to observe and evaluate, especially the important damages. So the commission put in place will immediately go to work for that purpose.
For now, the families who were affected by the heavy downpour at Kotonachigal have been temporarily lodged in a church while waiting that the commission that has been set up by the divisional officer to come up with suggestions on how to satisfy the victims.
Inhabitants of Koto in Banga subdivision already receiving aid from the administration following the heavy downpour that destroyed their homes, while those of Kompina in the Bonalea subdivision who witnessed a similar incident with several houses destroyed are still expecting help from the administration. They are saying that they have been abandoned, and they are sending a distress call to the Yaoundé administration to rescue them from the deplorable situation in which they find themselves after that heavy downpour that destroyed their homes. Here in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, hundreds of traders at the Douala Central Market around the roundabout in front of the Douala Central Market went on a rampage today. They are stranded as a result of an effort by the council officials to collect 100,000 francs CFA for a square meter around that area. This is a decision of the city council, which is bringing untold suffering and hardship and of course difficulties upon the traders who have been managing to do business around that area. Innocent has more.
Still at this place called Poste Central in the Douala 2 municipality. Tension early Wednesday between these disgruntled traders and security elements, backing up agents of the Douala 2 council with all the means they have. Riot generated when some wealthy traders from the Douala Central Market invited the council agents who arrived with security forces to send away those complaining of limited financial means, selling here for 15 years, some 20 years, for occupying these squares already paid for, with a metal square costing 100,000 francs CFA. According to the angry traders, these squares are too expensive, and the pioneer occupants of these commercial sites are now systematically being driven away and strangers brought in.
As they play, there is not anything that like to protect ourselves. Even when the rain fall on us, even the rain shine on us, I will make many years, and they can go and bring someone inside to come and pay the place and took the place. What the one that we should go where? The one that we should do, what will we do? What will we do?
That the mayor should have at least convened a meeting to get their opinion on how much to pay per meter square.
They should have even come near us to ask us to see any one position, so that they can ask the amount that we can pay, so that we should pay the amount. Not to go and bring someone that they should come and take the place. It is not good.
Since last Sunday, they have not been able to sell an item because of this, and the over 600 traders unable to meet their daily needs.
But no, no of you are picking for us.
Quelqu'un seul qui va acheter 10 places pour chasser les autres. D'autres vont venir comment?
A Douala 2 council agent questions on the payment of the 100,000 francs CFA before securing a square says this is not true, stressing no condition is required except presentation of photocopy of the national identity card and the proof of tax payment.
Non, je pense pas. Donc environ 150 personnes se sont enregistrées au niveau de la mairie. Les listes sont là.
He adds,
il y a eu une opération.
The marking operation is to fight against disorder, as it will enable liberation of the occupied section of the road, hindering flexible circulation. This marking is also a way to redistribute spaces to everyone because it was anarchically occupied, with many not having a space, thereby occupying the road.
une réorganisation pour pouvoir accueillir tout ce monde.
Though he emphasizes the traders were earlier notified of this measure and action, the disgruntled businessmen and women say they will fight for their rights and ensure the divisional officer learns of this injustice, whose retaliation left some of them injured and others arrested.
No peace at the Douala Central Market. No peace in the crisis-stricken northwest and southwest regions of the country. In several parts of those two regions, peace is completely absent, except for some major urban centers where there is a relative peace. And some young people in the southwest region are now struggling to step up efforts to restore peace in those regions. Details in this report by Derry Jato.
Critics say the war in the Anglophone regions has always been about them, the youth and their future. From peaceful protests to picking arms against the state, this active group battled it out, with some paying the ultimate price. And today peace had long disappeared from these two Anglophone regions. The pains are too much, and some youth of the southwest region are engaging to take action.
So first, we will be going down to the field to talk to those mothers who are in the bushes, those pregnant mothers who do not have shelter. We are going down to comfort them, to see how we can provide them with the little we have.
These members of the Southwest Youth League say they are going down to the 6 divisions of the Southwest region as one people, one destiny, unity for prosperity.
We know that errors were made in the past. We all are hurt, but I think it's time for us to give peace a chance.
And its pioneer president, Eswa Kisito, made it clear during their planification meeting in Boya that distractors should stay off.
Nobody should come in with a political agenda to hijack us, because we shall not tolerate that. It's purely a political affair.
And these youth say they are matching plans with action soon.
But as we know, before any meaningful projects can take place, we need peace to be restored. And it is on this score that we think that this sensitization tour, it is a pivotal project that we are going to embark on. And we plan to kickstart by mid-April. We'll begin from Pako, then to Kmer, and extend to the other divisions of the Southwest region.
The Anglophone crisis has changed the face of the two Anglophone regions, as many are internally displaced, with others as refugees.
In the West Regional Chieftown, Bafusam, a woman in her 60s, is killed at Lushley by her eldest daughter. She's reported to have used an axe to kill her own mother, and the suspect says that this happened after a tense argument between her and her mother. Details in this report by Immaculate Fogwe.
Family members inconsolable after discovering the lifeless body of Musin Math in her living room located in Bafusam West region. The widow was sent to an early grave after being hit with an axe by her eldest daughter, Karin Mambe, while she was taking her siesta. According to Karin, her action results from a tense argument between her and her late mother during the day.
While on my way to the Total Junction, I stumbled on Karin and she started saying, "I have killed her." I later asked, "Who have you killed?" And she answered, "My mother. She has been disturbing me for a while. It's better now that she is dead." I heard her shouting, "I have killed my mother," several times. I then asked how she did it, and she said it is because her mother does not want her to succeed in life.
While the perpetrator was being lynched by the population, security elements intervened and took her away.
Later, I noticed that the population was determined to beat her to death. I immediately alerted the forces of law and order.
The corpse of the lady has been laid in the mortuary while Cameroon has been kept behind bars. This tragic incident has taken place a week after another incident in the same region where a man beat his son to death for eating his bananas, which he kept as a bait for rats.
Now we talk about the burial of the former mayor of Njombe Penja in the Mongo division of the littoral region of the Republic of Cameroon. And despite the warnings of the divisional officer of Njombe Penja with regards to the respect of anti-COVID-19 measures during the burial of Paul Eric Kingi, hundreds of people came out to pay homage to the fallen politician. His corpse was removed from the Lakentini Hospital mortuary in the early hours of the morning today, and officials were present to pay their last homage to the fallen politician. And while in the Njombe Penja, the corpse attracted a huge crowd of inhabitants of that area, which led to some sort of a standoff with security and defense forces, or better still, forces of law and other. Charles Kmer has more.
It was just about 2 days ago when Paul Eric Kingi, mayor of the Njombe Penja municipality, met his demise due to the deadly coronavirus. His corpse was removed in the early hours today from the morgue at the Lakentini Hospital in Douala, in the presence of senior administrative officials and political comrades who came to pay their last respect and bid farewell to a leader and a community head.
Victime du Covid et que ça allait déjà, et il a replongé.
He was a victim of the coronavirus which took away his life. It's the will of God that he is no more. But all I can say is we have lost a very great man and politician who actively animated the political scene in Cameroon. All we can do now is to extend our condolence to the family of the deceased, and may his soul rest in peace.
À la famille éplorée, et que son âme repose en paix.
Upon arrival with the mortal remains of the deceased statesman at his premises, hundreds of people were already gathered around, demanding to see the corpse of their beloved mayor. Law enforcers had no choice but to use tear gas to disperse the clamoring crowd. Which brought the situation under control. Before the corpse of the mayor could get to Njombe Penja, there was already a lot of tension in the community. But thanks to the divisional officer and forces of law and order, everything was under control. I am happy everything went on as planned, because our deceased mayor used to say, "My people are counting on me, and I am counting on my people." At least today, he could count on his people to bid him farewell. I thank the population of Njombe Penja for their solidarity. During the burial, the crowd was sobbing, wailing, and mourning their beloved son, who they will never see again. The population of Njombe Penja may not have their mayor again, but the legacy of this renowned political figure lives on.
The mayor of the Douala 4 subdivision has been reminded of his responsibility vis-à-vis persons displaced by the Anglophone crisis, persons who have been forced out of their homes in the northwest and southwest regions and are now seeking refuge in the Douala 4 subdivision. The senior division officer of the Uri division reminded the mayor of the Douala 4 subdivision to ensure that he has to ensure that the people who moved out of their homes because of violence in the crisis-stricken Anglophone regions and under his area of command are living in acceptable conditions, and that their needs are being taken care of. Details in this report. And for me, I'm Strong Santa.
The COVID-19 pandemic has dealt a serious blow on council revenue collection in the Douala 4 municipality.
throughout the 2020 budgetary year. In actual terms, revenue collection stood at some 407,557,607 francs CFA, witnessing a drop of 100,372,283 francs CFA from the previous year 2019. The mayor of the Douala 4 Council says the result is a direct fallout of the tax exemption decided by President Paul Biya in his measures to accompany economic operators humbled by the COVID-19 pandemic. The second excuse, according to him, is the decision of the government of Cameroon to close drinking spots as from 6 p.m.
Mais je pense qu'en 2021, nous ferons plus.
After his excuses, Benjamin Mbotu, the senior divisional officer for the Vuri division, challenged him to make good use of the advantages offered by the new code of regional and local authorities.
Douala 4e est une ville industrielle.
Benjamin Mbotu reiterated that the Douala 4 municipality covers the entire Bonaberi industrial zone, and if revenue is properly collected, the council will be the richest in the Vuri division.
La plus riche même du Vuri.
He says the new law gives the mayor the power to collect a wide range of taxes which initially did not fall within his competence. He therefore expects more from the Douala 4 municipality in terms of revenue collection this year 2021. Or during the administrative, management and stores account session of the Douala 4 Council for 2020. Benjamin Mbotu also reminded the mayor of his responsibility towards the thousands of internally displaced Anglophones in his municipality. He told the mayor to work hard to save Bonaberi from repeated floods and inundations.
The United Nations High Commission for Refugees is taking measures to ensure that refugees from different African countries who are seeking refuge and some seeking asylum in Cameroon's littoral region are well taken care of, and this is why an identification process is going on, and the process was started on Monday on the heels of the 2021 edition of World Refugee Day, and the exercise is still going on here in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, notably at the CPDM Party House in Bonanjo, where hundreds of refugees and asylum seekers are streaming in to get themselves identified, and this is a process that is intended to ensure that the information in the database, databanks of the United Nations High Commission for Refugees are exact. Take a listen to one of the officials of UNHCR, Marion Le Guen. She's an administrator in charge of protection. Take a listen.
Monday, a verification exercise of all refugees and asylum seekers who are in the littoral region. We're doing this exercise with the government, the technical secretariat for refugees here in Cameroon. We are ensuring that all the refugees and asylum seekers that are in our database are still in Douala, and we're doing updating of the data. So we're making sure that all the information we have about them are updated, and we're also doing renewal of their documentation, a refugee ID card and asylum seeker attestation. And the information we are updating will help us to better respond to their needs, the protection and the assistance we give them based on the information we collect from them. For example, on their occupation or the situation of their children, and then we can adapt our response in terms of protection and assistance to them. So on the side we have the presence of the Red Cross to do the temperature checked and to make sure there is respect of the distanciation and all the measures related to COVID. There are 4 rescue staff for these activities from the Red Cross.
Refugees and asylum seekers have already been received this far since the exercise started on Monday here in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. The identification of refugees and asylum seekers, many of them are coming from the Central African Republic, others from other African nations. Take a listen to Marion Le Guen.
Today we verified 315 individuals and yesterday 280. Today we admitted almost 500 refugees and asylum seekers. They are from different countries. We have refugees and asylum seekers from Côte d'Ivoire, from Burkina. We have also a majority of asylum seekers and refugees from Central Africa, but a lot of different nationalities. In our database, before the exercise, we have 15,226 refugees and asylum seekers. So those are the refugees and asylum seekers we verify, and at the end of the exercise, we will see how many are still in the littoral region, and also we're updating new births and deaths. We're only doing a verification exercise. At the moment, we're not doing assessment of their living condition. They are coming here and we verify if they are here or not, and we renew their documentation. We also have a partner that take care of the assistance and do visit on the field.
In news out of the Republic of Cameroon, Congo-Brazzaville's president is re-elected with more than 88% of the vote according to the provisional results. After 38 years in power, Denis Sassou Nguesso's victory was expected. His closest rival died on polling day from COVID-19, also after months of denying the presence of Eritrean troops in the conflicts in Ethiopia's northern Tigray region. PM Abiy Ahmed admits they have crossed the border and acknowledges reports of atrocities and in eastern reports of atrocities in that country. And coming back to Denis Sassou Nguesso in Congo-Brazzaville, I indicated earlier that his closest rival died of coronavirus just hours after polls closed on Sunday, and he got less than 8% of the vote. Two other opposition leaders, Jean-Marie Michel Mokoko and Andre Okombisa-Lisa, are all behind bars, accused of undermining state security. Denis Sassou Nguesso first became president in 1979. He lost the country's first democratic election in 1992 to Pascal Lissouba, and he returned to power 5 years later following a bloody civil war. In recent years, his supporters say he has played a major role in conflicts in several African nations, and according to United Nations refugee figures, 40% of the oil-rich country's population live below the poverty line. Congo-Brazzaville is number 118 out of 180 nations in a ranking of Reporters Without Borders. The 77-year-old leader, Denis Sassou Nguesso, rejects all accusations of being an authoritarian leader. 6 years ago, the constitution was changed to allow him to run again, and he could therefore remain president until 2031. Now in sports, Cameroon's senior men's football team had its last training session today at the Japoma Sports Complex here in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. The indomitable Lions had the last session today. After the training, the Lions immediately embarked on to the international airport, moved to the international airport here in Douala, of course, where they left the country at 2:30 p.m. for prayer Cape Verde, and Cape Verde will confront the Indomitable Lions on Friday in a match counting for the qualifiers of the African Nations Cup 2021 edition, to be hosted by Cameroon. Lions striker Jay Clinton Moore spoke to us at the end of the training session at the Japoma Sports Complex. Take a listen.
Well, I think we just started training yesterday, and everybody's working very hard. It's not been easy with the journey, and some players just arrived today, and we had our second training today. Everything is going on well, and we are going for victories, and we're here to give our best so we can win games.
What is the ambiance with the new players?
Well, I think it's not easy, but I think they're doing a great job. And everybody is trying to give 100% so we could have good results at the end.
Can you tell us about your form?
Well, I feel very, very okay. And yeah, it's not been easy. We started some months ago. And yeah, I just came back from injury like a month ago. I've played the last game, so I think physically I'm okay. Thank you.
As part of this newscast, Talking Point is up next. King Michael, a Cameroonian politician, is joining us from the United States of America. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Right, on the road from decentralization to special status, Dr. Michael Njume Ebong says, I quote, indeed, the ultimate outcome of these new developments will depend less on the fine print of the decentralization law and more on the foresight, competence and determination of those Anglophone politicians elected to implement and leverage our special status in ways responsive to our aspirations. End of quote. That is a statement made by Dr. Michael Njume Ebong. You are one of the Cameroonian Anglophone politicians from the southwest region of the country. What do you think about this?
Thank you, Mr. Babila, for giving me the opportunity to make my own contribution as far as the subject matter is concerned. As he rightly said, that what matters in the discussion which is going on in Cameroon about decentralization is what actually is being transferred to the local authorities to manage. To the best of my knowledge, what I see now is there is some degree of bad faith as far as transfer of competence is concerned. And Mr. Babla, I wouldn't blame those who are at the center trying to manage, because, you know, the saying goes that power has never been given on the platter of gold. So they have been used to all the sweet deals at the central level. Now to transfer it at the local level is posing a lot of problems. On the other hand, I don't know whether those who are involved, I mean, the local collectivities actors, they are equally prepared for the process, because you see, what I have noticed during my time in office is that you are supposed to know, as the mayor of a collectivity, that you are a servant of the people before being a master of yourself. And if you don't have that notion, if you, let me say you were a teacher or whatever, managing 200,000 a month, and suddenly you are, because of the political maneuver, you are elected a mayor, and you have a budget of 1.9 billion to manage, with a lot of personnel to manage. It takes a lot of challenges to meet up with the demand. Most people will not know that that money is well allocated, well budgeted for specific purposes. They think that that money is part or parcel of what they are entitled to make themselves become rich, not forgetting to know that as a mayor, you have a well-defined, structured salary at the end of the month. So I really believe that all the actors involved in the decentralization need to be schooled on what is theirs and what is not theirs, how to manage the process, the personnel, the resources, the financial resources, the human resources, the material resources. It all goes in a package, what you have to manage. And so I think, except somebody is not trying to be honest, it is, to me, it is even difficult to manage decentralization than to manage federation. Because with federation, it's a process that everybody knows.
All right, while expecting that the broadcast technicians will help me to hear you clearly, you are the former mayor of Muyuka in the southwest region of the country, and you have mastery of management as far as public belongings are concerned. And of course, you have been closely following up happenings in those two Anglophone regions of the country. When Dr. Michael Njume Ebong talks about the foresight, competence, and determination of the Anglophone politicians elected to manage the move from decentralization to special status as far as those two English-speaking regions are concerned, what can we pick out of that as far as the duties and responsibilities of the regional presidents and other regional executives are concerned?
Mr. Babla, the first thing which we will tend to disagree is when you talk of special status, no definition, there is no clear definition of what is that special status going to be about. So how can the actor be even prepared to manage, to determine? How do they even know what they are responsible and what they are not responsible? You see, in our country, as I said, those who are managing at the level of the central administration, they are not prepared to decentralize. They are not prepared, because if they were prepared, that so-called special status could have been well defined so that the regional actors, the local collectivity actors should know exactly what they are supposed to do and not to do. But if you leave everything in suspense, what do you expect them to do? So, I mean, let us define, let us have clear parameters of what each and every actor is supposed to be involved in order to meet up with the aspiration of Cameroonians. I am telling you, Mr. Babla, it's not only Northwest and Southwest. It is not moving. It is not moving. I'll give you a simple example, Mr. Babla. I just received a letter from Konak involving certain land in Boya. They are expecting people to leave from Boya with documents to go and meet them in Yaoundé. What the hell is going on, Mr. Babla?
So what should be done at that level? I believe that is where the issue of determination comes in, because some of those obstacles which you're highlighting are still there and are going to be standing right in the face of the politicians who have been elected to manage the special status, to implement the new decentralization code.
The problem, Mr. Babla, as I've given you this simple example, the people of Konak, they have a budget. They have a budget to display themselves. There was a time I saw them in Boya. Why can they not display themselves to Boya and do what they are supposed to do and go back in order to alleviate the suffering of the population? Now, talking about, I still repeat, Mr. Babla, that the so-called decentralization is just a window dressing, because it is not well defined. The rules are not well defined. If I can recall, France is one of the only countries that practice the so-called decentralization. Why can't we go to federation, which has been practiced from time immemorial? Everybody knows what the federated states are supposed to do and the central administration is supposed to do. So that we come to the table, we define what is supposed to be done and what is not supposed to. And let me tell you, Mr. Babla, you were talking about human rights. The only people who are supposed to put pressure on both the local collectivity and the central administration are the citizens. They are supposed to be educated about their rights. The civil society are supposed to be involved, educate the population that this is what your mayor needs, is one who is in charge in recruiting at the level of primary, secondary. You need roads, you need electricity, you need healthcare. Once they don't see those things coming, they have the right to go to the street and ask for the mayor to provide for. And if the mayor has that pressure, the mayor will equally put pressure at the level of the central administration. And that will involve now everybody to sit down to have clear lines on what is supposed to be done. Because as I'm telling you, Babla, the citizens are those who are involved. All what they are asking is what they are entitled to. Cameroonians are very hardworking. And so, if they pay their taxes, they need in return to have certain amenities that is supposed to be provided by the government, either the central government or the local collectivity.
Right. King Michael, former mayor of Muyuka, thank you for joining us today from the United States of America. Thank you for your time.
You are welcome. You are welcome, Mr. Babla.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. Stay glued to Equinoxe Television. Equinoxe War will be yours in some minutes.